All right, let's start breaking apart the wireframe layout here inside Photoshop. I'm going to go after the header first. So we've seen a couple of different ways to go about selecting the header. Because we removed the strokes inside Illustrator, of course, the header and the menu run into each other, so it's pretty tough to tell where one of them ends and the other one begins. So earlier on, I showed you that you could use your info panel. That's perfectly fine. Way back when, with the high resolution, we simply used the marquee tool set to a fixed size, the rectangular marquee tool, that is. I think just for the sake of time, that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool out of the toolbox. You can tap your M key on your keyboard if you wish. Then from the options bar across the top, from the style drop-down menu, I'm going to say fixed size. Now, do you remember the dimensions of your header from the low resolution layout or the low resolution wireframe? It's going to be 480 pixels by 130 pixels. So lock that in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to bring my cursor up towards the top left. This is usually how I do this. I go above and just to the left of the canvas itself, if you will. And then I just single click, and that creates not only does it create the marching ants, the selection, but it positions it perfectly for me way up in the top left corner. Okay? So there we go. And inside the layers panel, I'm going to make sure that layer 2 is selected. Now what I want to do is I want to take the content, the pixels that appear inside the marching ants here, and I want to cut them. I want to move them onto their own layer. Do you remember the keyboard shortcut? It's going to be Control-Shift-J or Command-Shift-J on your keyboard. Okay? So there we go. There's our header. I'm going to go ahead and rename this guy header. And while we're at it, let's do the menu. We may as well do the menu. We're here. So I'm going to go back to the layer that contains the wireframe, which is going to be layer 2. Okay. And this is my situation where I use my down and dirty selection. So I'm going to head back to the options bar, switch the style menu back to normal. Okay. So now I can just freehand out rectangular selections like this. All I'm going to do is take a guess at where the top of the menu is. I know the menu is pretty narrow, so if I come up here somewhere, I know I'm going to get the entire menu if I click and drag down below it and then right across, something like that. Okay, so I know I have my menu in there. You can double check if you want by disabling the visibility of the header layer if you wish, something like this. And then once again, Command-Shift-J or Control-Shift-J on your keyboard to create your new layer. And I'll call this nav menu. There we go. Great. All right, so we have our content boxes to go. We have the newsfeed and the footer. So this is going to go pretty quickly here, I think.